Sorry about that. How's everyone? Sorry for the technical difficulties. So was just teasing, I think, earlier on Twitter that I had a guest on stream, and it is Daniel Ricciardo, but not the real Daniel Ricciardo, just a cardboard cutout of him in the background. So hopefully that's okay. I'm not going to promise any interview or dialogue with Daniel today, but one can dream he could be on the channel down the line. But I hope you guys are all well. Good to have you in the chat, Stevie, Darren, Mayank, Luke, plenty of people out and about. Sorry again for the technical difficulties, but I think we're a go for today. I'm not really sure where to start, to be honest, because we've had a pretty disrupted last couple of practice sessions. But go through the usual free practice debrief, fantasy tool simulations, team selection dilemmas, chip usage, plenty of great contributions in the chat already. And this will go through until probably just before qualifying in 2 hours. Glenn, how are you, mate? Harry, good to see you. Ewan, F1 Fantasy Pole Position, live in the chat as well. So show some love to Ewan there. All right, well, let's kick things off with a few questions. Then we'll jump into free practice and the simulations, and then get to all of your questions for the next 2 hours. Would you put Norris in over Piastri from -10, and would you have Haas or VCARB? Yeah, honestly, probably the crux of my dilemma this week, Guillaume. I probably won't be taking Norris over Piastri. I have Piastri for this week. Current team on screen here, and these 3 slots are up for debate. So I think, the situation around what constructors, I think it's pretty obvious McLaren is the standout best this week from what we've seen in practice. And then it's obviously a matter of preference for VCARB and Haas, and where you also want to fill up in terms of that 5th driver. But I think in terms of Hulk, Stroll, Behrman, all drivers that are bound to go up. I've been toing and froing over VCARB and Haas, and I'm leaning towards Haas, but we can use the next couple of hours to go through that. Let's go through Daniel's team. Strong budget. Right now, debating 2 teams. Piastri, Stroll, Tsunoda, Behrman, Ocon, McLaren, VCARB, team 2. I think they both look pretty good, Daniel. And then, moving into Bortoleto, Hadjar next week to get McLaren Mercedes sounds great. No sound. Thank you guys for the reminder. I hope I've got to the bottom of that mute dilemma. Awesome. No negative chip. Yeah, let's talk about chips in just a second. I'll throw what my current team is up on the screen here, just for my initial thoughts up on the screen here for this week. So you guys have an idea of what I'm doing in Japan. Do I burn the wild card? I think it depends on your team. If you're kind of stuck in a team with a lot of budget fallers like Bortoleto, Ferrari, I'd probably pull trigger if you can't get to the team you want in 3 moves. I think I'd still probably take a -10 over a wild card at this point in the season. If you're kind of agonizing on the fence, anything more than a -10, I'd just knee jerk the wild card. Oh, thanks, Stevie. Yeah, I mean, I'm an ex-FPL guy myself. I still play FPL. I played FPL since probably 2009, 2010. So F1 Fantasy and FPL share a lot of similarities. Don't let Daniel on the grass. He might catch fire. He might just. Honestly, let's talk constructors to start things off, because Michael, you've asked about it a few times. Glenn's obviously discussing it as well. Then we'll talk. Let's actually talk free practice and segue into the constructor discussion. So I'll pull that up on the screen. Free practice times. Let's have it. All right. So I missed most of free practice 3. Dinner commitments. It's past midnight in the US where I am. So got to see the first 2, missed out on the last one. I caught maybe the last 5 minutes of FP3, but so be it. So I think kind of key takeaways from FP1 for me were, once it decides to load, is, Lando unsurprisingly at the top. George, and I think kind of similar theme through all three, he's just really sticking with the McLarens on single lap pace this year. Been pretty impressed by him. Further down the order, Ferrari, I think if they weren't disqualified this week, I'd be having a harder decision to agonize with parting ways with Ferrari, but given they're going to drop 0.3, unlikely. And then Red Bull, seems like Max is having a bit of a difficult time trying to get on top of that RB21. So him and Yuki were in and around the top 10 for all three practice sessions, but I don't quite think they'll be featuring the Constructor or Max, at least in my team this week. FP2, McLaren, pretty good. Racing Bulls were the biggest movers. I think kind of a lot of the stock from VCARB for this week stemmed from FP2. And I think there's still an appetite for the Constructor simply because of the price and the upside. So I think VCARB become a good option, a compelling option to pair with McLaren this week. Mercedes kind of there and thereabouts. And Sainz and Albon were running P10, P11 for the first two practice sessions. I think Williams are probably underwhelming a little bit in terms of fantasy and in Formula One in general. They were again, 7th and 11th. I'm not sure Williams is for me this week, just simply because of the upside or the threshold to rise in price is much higher than the likes of Haas and VCARB. So McLaren, I think the obvious pick for this week. George Russell looking great. Ferrari thereabouts, but I wouldn't go near this week. And then kind of I personally think the midfield's a bit of a coin flip depending on the drivers. So let's steer the conversation back to the Constructor debate, and I'll pull the simulations up on screen as well. Ignore the, I'll just reset the fields, which is kind of annoying, but not to worry. So I think okay, you're going to cooperate, I think. All right. So the second Constructor, Michael, you've asked a couple of questions. Glenn, I think Daniel asked at the start, was pretty funny around VCARB, Haas, Williams. So my point of view here is VCARB and Haas, I think there's not much in it, to be honest. I think Haas have just got that much lower threshold, minus 31 points they have to exceed to go up 0.6 million, if I'm not mistaken. So going over to the budget builder on F1 Fantasy Tools, Haas need to go up or need to score above negative 31 to increase 0.6. So I think that's very much just locking in a price rise for them this week, which is why so many people are gravitating towards them. VCARB, I don't think need to do much, but there's obviously an absolute requirement to not DNF to get that price rise. So I think even though I'm tripling up on Haas most likely this week, you can't predict DNFs. And sure, if Behrman DNFs, it hits me twice. I'm very aware of that, but I don't care if Ocon and Behrman finish 19th and 20th. They just need to finish the race. So that's kind of why I'm leaning towards Haas right now, but I'll get to a few questions in the chat. Tempted to run Mercedes. Edgar's asking, tempted to run Mercedes, Haas, Piastri, Tsunoda, Behrman, Hulkenberg, Ocon. I think that looks great. If you can squeeze McLaren in there, I think there's probably slightly more upside than going Mercedes. Struggling with bumps, so I'm picking Racing Bulls. I think that's fair enough. Don't let Daniel on the grass. He might catch fire. I think I got to that one before. I think I'll use no negative because of the fire. What do you think? Well, I think obviously that will create red flags, no doubt, if it keeps repeating. But I don't think that's necessarily going to affect drivers not finishing the race, the fire. I think people are thinking more so about no negative simply because of the fact it's wet and there's a number of inexperienced drivers on the grid. I think kind of how teams are looking this week, I'm probably jinxing myself saying this, but a lot of teams looking to build value are going to have Ocon, Stroll, Behrman, Hulkenberg, three of which are experienced drivers. Stroll and Hulk had great drives in the wet in Australia. Stroll drives better in the wet than in the dry. Hulkenberg's very experienced. Ocon 2, and Behrman's only one of 2 rookies not to have DNF'd a race this year. So I think for that reason, I'm not necessarily using no negative because I haven't got any rookies in my team, and I think I'd personally rather save it for that extra sprint race session. You know, Belgium, I know Rain was talking about Belgium on his stream before, and Brazil naturally as well. And yeah, I think the argument kind of more in favor of Haas, which Michael's pointed out, is that they're more than likely going to qualify further towards the back. VCARB have got much better single lap pace. And so if kind of that holds true, we might see Hadjar or Lawson in Q3 and then lose a few positions. And that's not exactly what you want if you're trying to beat the -3 threshold. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. When should we stop budget building? I think Bahrain's going to be pretty hard to stretch to McLaren, Piastri, Mercedes, and then obviously pick up rookies. At the same time, Bortoleto, Hadjar doing those DNFs from Australia will fall off their 3-week rolling average. So I think we may see kind of those higher budget teams move towards McLaren, Mercedes next week. I think I'll probably be waiting until Saudi or after Miami to stop piling in on 5 B-tier assets. Which one to 2x between Piastri and Norris? I think if budget was no hesitation, Norris, but I think Piastri gives you a bit more flexibility. Maybe, certainly in future weeks when we're, as I said, looking at that McLaren Mercedes. It's not like 13 points is too high to achieve by Williams. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Albon does have a shocking record at Suzuka, though. He's DNF'd the last 3 races in Japan, so take that as you will. 315 watching on stream here, guys, so please throw a like on the video if you haven't got to that already, but also don't. No pressure at all. Where did the Ricciardo cutout come from, Emily? Great question. You might even know the answer to that yourself. Main team is Piastri, Albon, Behrman, Ocon, Hülkenberg, Williams, McLaren. I'd go... If you've got McLaren, Williams, I think that's fine. I don't have an issue with Williams this week, to be honest. I think they're perfectly fine. And I think having an extra transfer in Bahrain next week, have that extra flexibility to bring in a Bortoleto, a Hadjar, to, if you have the budget to move into Mercedes, like you'll need at least 2 transfers for that. So if you can roll a third, should price changes not work in your favor this week, I think it'll certainly help. Stroll or Yuki? I think Stroll for this week. For me, I've taken a punt on Kick Sauber for budget gains. Yeah, I think that's fine. You know, I think Sauber have got a couple of new buyers this week, so let's see what comes of it, even if they do finish last and second last. All right, lost my mic in the chat again. Hey, Fantasy Pitwall from Twitter, one of the greats. Budget versus points dilemma. Yeah, me too, mate. Is your team too Haas heavy? Yeah, it probably is. It probably is. It probably is. One more dance with Lance. Yeah. Hopefully the last race with Lance Stroll. Hopefully the last race. I mean, if he keeps scoring 15, 16, 17 points a race week, I'm not complaining. His ownership shot up from 8% to 14% in the last 2 races, so a good sign. I am Australian indeed. Great observation. Would you say Tsunoda is the new Antonelli? Perhaps. My second team is actually let's lock in my second team transfers. Because my first team is the one we'll talk about, but you guys get to see all 3 teams and transfers for this week. Oh, that's okay. Screen is having a moment. Let's log in on the other screen. I'll just throw the budget builder up. It's going to rain in the morning. No fires. No fires at all, hopefully. Oh, greetings from Brazil. Thank you, Bernardo. What do you think of Piastri, Hamilton, Ocon, Behrman, Hülkenberg, Mercedes V-Cub? I think take Hamilton out if you can and upgrade. I'd probably see if you can target McLaren this week. I know you've got Piastri, but the Constructor, it just seems too obvious. It just seems too obvious at the moment not to go with them. Oh, John, thank you for the love. Hopefully the content is helping you guys more deadline streams this year than I've done in the last 2 years on YouTube, in the last 3 weeks alone. So hopefully that trend continues this season. There have been a lot of people in the chat asking questions, and if there are people asking questions, there are answers I'm very willing to give. So yeah, you guys are the reason I keep coming back for more streams each race week. Okay. I could take a -10 to bring in Triple Haas and McLaren, as I am worried about Williams. I'm worried about keeping Stroll, but he keeps scoring points. Yeah, I think we're all worried about the stroller coaster. Up 1 week, down 1 week, but he's still going up. So let's hope this ride goes for a little longer. But yeah, right now, he's in my team for Japan, Lance Stroll. Okay. Okay, let's bring my team up one more time. So I'll just bin these out. Hey, Peyton. What's up? What's up, man? Thank you for the kind words. Love Texas. My brother lives in Austin, actually, so I'm down there every so often. Circuit of the Americas, great track. Big fan of the race in Austin. Post FP3 sims hopefully will be out, Bingus. I don't know when yet. They usually come out about an hour before the deadline. Nothing yet. The guy who does the simulations for Fantasy Tools is from Australia, lives in Australia. So it is 3:18 in the morning. No, 3:18 in the afternoon. So I imagine he's probably crunching some simulations right now. Is McLaren, Haas, Norris, Behrman, Hadjar, Hulkenberg, Ocon worth it if it costs a -10? Yeah, it's probably fine. Hadjar, you'll probably have to eat the drop, but he's my favourite rookies, priced under 7 million, so go nuts. Hungry Jacks or Red Rooster? Hungry Jacks for me, Grant. Hungry Jacks any day of the week. I didn't really grow up around too many Red Roosters, so I can't say I've had it more than once or twice in my life. I feel like it's some people are very much Hungry Jacks, which is like the Burger King equivalent in Australia for US viewers. What about Antonelli instead of Ocon? Well, I mean, I'd go Antonelli any day of the week, but again, with the budget available or the budget that Antonelli eats up, could you do something else with the extra, 8-9 million? Wondering if I should take, I think I answered that one for Alex. Wondering if I should take -10 to bring in Norris. I won't be bringing in Norris this week because simply I'll probably have to transfer him back out in 2 weeks. And I don't want, a valuable transfer that I can use for constructor upgrades or budget enablers being chewed up by a driver that, Piastri, I think he can match Norris. Not match Norris, but probably within 5 points each race week on average. Sims in Fantasy Tools suggest the same. So yeah, Piastri for me. Norris is the better driver is what I'm saying, but I'll be sticking with Piastri and I wouldn't be getting in Norris for a -10. I think the other moves, Stroll, Haas and V-Carb look great with the 2 transfers. Rice Joker, I think Albon for me this week. Signs looks like he'll drop in price again. Should I take no negative? I mean, yeah, sorry, you did ask that question, didn't you, Tornadon? I think there are better races to use it on. I wouldn't fault someone for going down the no negative path, but I'd argue Australia was a better race because more people had more rookies in their team, and you're also going to get slightly more value or upside out of it using it on a sprint weekend. Belgium and Brazil, a lot of people talking about them because they get a bit of wet weather, so that poses a bit of risk as well. Oh, weather's a great point, in fact. I haven't... Mike, you're all over my notifications, and I'm not mad about it. What am I searching? I followed this guy on... This is the weather guy. He's the official F1 weather guy. Rodolfo. Shout out Rodolfo. Practice 3. We don't want practice 3. We want Sunday forecast. Rain team consists of 4 B tier drivers. Yeah, I mean, pull no negative. I think that's perfectly fine. Ideal limitless team this week. If you want to go limitless for the weekly prizes, I'd probably go triple McLaren, George Russell, Mercedes, Max Verstappen, and probably Charles Leclerc. Tough to beat Macca's. Oh, without a doubt, tough to beat Macca's. It's my favourite. Become more of a KFC guy recently. I wouldn't say it beats Macca's for me, Brant, but yeah, they're both pretty good. Red Rooster any day with the Hawaiian pack, pineapple and banana with chicken and chips. I think, Peter, if you said that to anyone outside of Australia, they'd look at you a bit weirdly, but us Aussies kind of get that, don't we? Piastri looked more comfortable than Norris in the car. Yeah, I agree, Sarah. I think he put in better times, or not better times necessarily, but Norris in particular in free practice 1, he ran over the curb. I think took a bit of curb, or a bit more curb than he would have liked. Had an excursion in the gravel. And then Oscar, looked pretty good across the board. I think it was only FP1 where he looked a little off the top of the timing charts. Sorry, half my tabs in my browser disappeared just before, so just bear with me while I load them up. But I do think, Oscar's looked very comfortable. Pole position last week as well, can take a lot of confidence from that. Oh no, it was free practice 2. Oscar was top. It was free practice 1. He was a bit further down, wasn't he? Yeah, but I wouldn't worry about that. Any reason against Alonso? Because he has DNF the last 2 races and FPL Harry spotted. DNF the last 2 races and he's going to drop again. I think honestly, Alonso in 2 weeks' time will become, if he just looks okay, I think he'll be, doesn't DNF is what I mean by that, probably will become a very popular option if he's at like the 5-6 millions. FPL Harry spotted. Yeah, I do watch a bit of Harry, a bit of Andy, a bit of Ross. Ross is also a huge F1 guy as well. Raptor, that is. Alonso or Behrman? Behrman. Kimi and RBR or Yuki and McLaren? Yuki and McLaren, Bernard. Is taking Yuki for a driver of the day a shout? Absolutely is. That was what I was actually meaning to do before my browser had a moment. Let's lock in my Team 2 transfers because I've already made up my mind. This is not Team 1. But this week, I will be going in the second team, VCarb, and Yuki Tsunoda. And that, sorry, I'm going to have to just adjust the screen so you can see the budget cap, 1.8. Sorry. There we go. 1.8. So this is Team 2. This is not Team 1. I'm going to lock those in now. Do not fret. Just so you guys know that I do not run all the same teams in all 3 of my fantasy lineups. So that's Team 2 lock. Team 1, still no changes. Team 3, a bit of a mess. We can figure that one out later. But I have had guys ask in the chat, can we see your other teams? So to give you an idea, yeah, there's a bit of Haas, there's a bit of Sauber, there's a bit of McLaren. But I think this team will have the VCarb and Tsunoda, and this team will have the Haas Constructor. Haas or VCarb? Haas for me this week, Ava. Yeah, so let's talk about Yuki, James, because you make a good point. I think Yuki is... What's putting a lot of people off is the fact he does have to reach a certain threshold of 21 for a price rise. I do think I saw enough from him in free practice yesterday to be confident that he can actually get close to that 21. But 21 points in fantasy is usually around 4th, I would say, off the top of my head. 4th, 5th. So just be wary of that he has to kind of be around the top 5 to meet the maximum price increase. 16, again, like I don't think these are the scores that he will find difficult to reach in fantasy. He just has to have a good qualifying and kind of build on that into Sunday. But for someone who's not had really a full race weekend in this car, he looked good yesterday, but some mixed feedback from from people around the paddock, a few pundits and stuff on F1 TV. I think understandably might need a few races to bed in. So I'm willing to give him a week or two before I seriously consider him. But I do think he's still got that driver of the day potential. And if he does finish in the top 5, 20 or 18 to 20 points could easily be 25 to 30 points with the driver of the day. And I think a top 5 is all that will be needed for a Yuki driver of the day award. Is Yuki's... Yeah, it kind of is. That's the thing. His budget volatility, you just don't know what you're getting from him. And I think, again, that kind of lack of familiarity with the car is probably why I'm erring on the side of not going for him in my main team, but happy to gamble him my second team. McLaren, Ocon, Behrman, Hulken, non-negotiable. Yeah, I agree, Hector. I agree. Prices are almost locked in for a rise this week. Thoughts on Norris, Stroll, Hadjar, Hülkenberg, Ocon, McLaren V Cup? Yeah, Bernard, I think that looks good. Do you think it's feasible to get -20 on transfers? Ali, if you're going -20, I'd definitely go wildcard. There's going to be almost really not many, if any, situations this season where you're going -20s on a regular basis. So even if you had to go down that route of using 2 extra transfers above your allotted transfers for the week, I would more than likely just pull trigger on the wild card the first time you get into a situation where it gets to that point. In what world will Albon survive a Japan Grand Prix? Yeah, Rach, I think he's probably someone to just tread carefully with. His threshold for a max price rise is 19. I'm not sure he gets that. And to be honest, that DNF record, the last 3 years, not great either. I don't think it was his fault last year though. I think he collided with Tsunoda or Ricciardo on that first lap. I remember it was a V-carb driver that he crashed with and ended the race. So yeah, I'm not sure Albon's for me. Thoughts on Lawson? Probably not, James. Unless Haas look like Q3 material, but even if he did qualify in the top 10, he's bound to lose a few positions. So I'm 11 feels like a stretch, even 8 maybe for his first race in the car. Ocon or Lawson, Ocon, Oliver. Do I eat -10 to go from Williams to Haas, Ocon, Albon to Behrman, Hadjar to Tsunoda? Yeah, I think that's fine for -10, Bingus. I'm kind of stuck with Bordeaux for my second and third teams, hoping to bottom out. Yeah, I hope it's 4.52, Brant. I mean, more just so because it makes it easy for us to pivot into. Yes, Ryan, that's Ricciardo in the background. Sorry to disappoint anyone who thought I was speaking to the actual Daniel Ricciardo, but I don't know. Maybe he'll give us some feedback on his fantasy lineup this weekend. We'll see. Let's come back to Daniel in 20 minutes and see what he has to say once he's had to think about it. Fully budget building with Ocon, Behrman, Hulk, Stroll, no -10 carrying over an additional free transfer. But man, that FP3 is scary looking for point production. Yeah. I think, honestly, most people running V-Carb and Haas have to be prepared that you won't be close to scoring anywhere near the most points you can manage this weekend. So I would just... I would probably just make peace with that. Okay. Hang on. Did I miss that? Yeah, okay. Would you recommend taking out Ferrari, Mercedes for McLaren and V-Carb or Williams? Yeah, I would, Naveen. I think a lot of people are doing that this week. Let's throw the team back up on screen here. Ferrari, Haas, Piastri, Russell. Can you please let me know? Prithee, yeah, I'd move out Ferrari for McLaren, and probably downgrade Russell to do that. I have Hulk as a driver right now and Kick as a constructor. Which one is a priority to change? Probably neither. I'd say Kick. I think Kick more so than Hulk. Nathan asks, Piastri, Ocon, Hulk, Hadjar, Bortoletto. Have you got wildcard, Nathan? Because Hadjar, Bortoletto and Ferrari are all going to drop in price this week. I think if I had to, if you don't want to use wildcard, then I'd go -10 or 3 transfers to downgrade Ferrari to Haas and then upgrade Bortoletto and Hadjar. Oh, Nico, welcome back, man. I've seen you in a few of the streams lately. DR hit him, I think. Would you rather have McLaren, Haas, or Albon for Hulkenberg? I'd prefer the Stroll, Bem, and I'd prefer Hulkenberg over Albon this week. Hulkenberg over Albon? Yeah. Why do I only have 2 free transfers? I have to change. We get 2 every week, and I only used 1 last week. So if you do not use the 2 allotted transfers, you can roll one of them into the following race week, but you can only have a maximum of 3 per race week. So yeah, Masvio, if you go back to the stream last week, you'll see I only made 1, and that was it was that Hadjar out, Behrman in. Hadjar out, Behrman in? I think it was. Yeah. No more double Haas build. We'll see. We will see. A lot to ask. Can you explain what you're looking at? The program and numbers, not new to F1, but new to fantasy. I'm assuming you're looking at this table, Jason. So what this shows, I did a whole 20-minute video on this, my budget building guide. So I'd recommend watching that as well. But ultimately, it provides the scores that each driver needs to hit this race weekend to secure the corresponding price increase. So, for example, Norris, to get a $0.3 million price increases, has to score 7 or more points. If he scores between -20 and 7 points, he gets +1. And then, -46 for 0.1, -47 for 0.3. And the same applies for the other A tier and B tier constructors and drivers. Thoughts on McLaren and Racing Bulls? Yeah, I think that looks good. Yeah, FP has really not been helpful this week, Rach. And I think Glenn shares the same sentiment. If you have 3 but use 2, will 1 roll over? It absolutely will, Daniel. So, yeah, I think having the flexibility for next week, if you're able to roll 1 into Bahrain and have 3 transfers next week, I'd recommend it. But I don't really have the flexibility this week to do so. Who do I take out? I'd take out Sainz or Gasly, Alex. I'd probably use 2 transfers, take out Sainz and Gasly if you can, into Stroll and Hulk or something like that. Stroll and Ocon. So, yeah, I think I've got to quite a few questions. So I will throw this back up. I think for me, I want to go through my strategy for a couple minutes, because I think in reality, having 8 million on the side is not ideal, but it will be put to good use in Bahrain most likely. So this is ultimately where I see my team. No doubt about it. I'm ready to be hurt again. 3 Haas drivers. This is just asking for trouble. I am Ayo Komatsu's biggest fan this weekend, but I think, all things going well, these guys are probably what I have heading into Bahrain. I'll have 2 free transfers in Bahrain. The problem is I don't think I can actually get to McLaren and Mercedes in 2 moves, even with budget building this week. Because if I did this would be like Bahrain. So after Bahrain, I'd probably take out Stroll and Haas. I wouldn't have enough to put in even the cheapest driver, unless, of course, I downgraded Piastri to Russell, but I don't really have any intention of doing that. So I think the strategy for 1 more week could very much be building more budget in Bahrain. And that would leave me, I could take out Haas if I don't want that. I could potentially pivot into Alex Albon, and then maybe someone like Carlos Sainz, who's sinking like a stone. So if we go back to the budget builders, Sainz's minus 19 in Australia should fall off his average. So I'm considering, him or Gasly in my team for, this would be like a Bahrain type. Actually, no, I'd have Piastri in there. This could be potentially what my team looks like in Bahrain. Move out Stroll and Haas, bring in Williams if I feel like they look pretty good, or ultimately just stick with Haas for another week or VCub, whatever B tier constructor looks the most compelling. I think the thing for Haas is that, sure, they're not that quick. Their race and quali simulations were pretty slow, but I think that does, in many respects, set them up nicely to gain positions and overtakes from the back of the field. If Behrman and Ocon are out in Q1, which is ideally the optimal goal for these guys in fantasy, then I do think they are, certainly in Japan, where there's going to be wet weather, I think there'll be a couple of DNFs. They at least can gain positions. They don't need to make any overtakes. They can just gain positions with every driver that fails to finish the race ahead of them. So in an ideal world, Hülkenberg, Ocon, Behrman are all qualifying, in the bottom 5. This is kind of a potential. This could be a potential Bahrain lineup, and then I'd probably continue to build budget into Saudi Arabia as well. I'd avoid Stroll at Saudi because he has a really bad record there. And then carry that budget building team through again in Miami when I use Limitless. That's the plan at least. And then wildcard out all of these budget building assets into a McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, and maybe at that point I can afford Kimi Antonelli, Yuki Tsunoda type thing. I mean, if I have in Bahrain, I could also, if Tsunoda looks good, if he looks pretty comfortable in that Red Bull, I could do something like that. Like, I feel like that could potentially work too. So anyway, that's the plan of attack for the next few weeks. But a very vague one at that, and watched it all go up in smoke with 1 or 2 DNFs this week. So where's my boy Lance? And then I think it was McLaren and Haas. Yep. All right, back to the chat. Williams or Haas? I'd go Haas for this week. Thoughts on Williams? I can roll one into next week if I keep Williams. Yeah, if you can roll an extra transfer and keep Williams, then I'd definitely do that. LY. Can you explain your tweet of Hadjar being greatly in demand for next week? Yeah, great question, Gustavo. So it's because of the fact, again, that Hadjar has looked probably the best out of the 5 rookie. I'd say the best out of him, Bortoletto, and Doohan. He is currently 5 million. He will almost certainly go down another 0.6 this week in price to 4.4. If he can repeat his kind of 11-point heroics in China in future weeks, and I think he's got the car to do so. People saying V-Cub's even better than the RB21. 11 points is, at a 2 point per million basis. Like, that's exceptional value for money. I think most people will want someone who's priced in the 4s if it means allowing them to upgrade to McLaren and Mercedes as their constructors. Nervous to do triple Haas, make it Williams. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, Ali. You're going for V-Cub or Williams over Haas to avoid the triple ups, perfectly fine. So only change Tsunoda out, Behrman in, roller transfer. Love that. I had 3 transfers, used 1, but will now activate wildcard. Will I get back 3 in Bahrain? Once you activate the wildcard, Waldy, you get 2 transfers the following week. So just keep that in mind. I have Piastri, Stroll, Tsunoda from VCub, Hadjar, Hülkenberg, McLaren, Williams. I'd get rid of Tsunoda, JMac. 8.4, so you could probably get to Ocon. And then I'd probably roll the other transfer or downgrade Williams to Haas and upgrade Hadjar. I think I said thoughts, Ryan. Thoughts on Kimi, Piastri, Hulk, Hadjar, McLaren, Haas. think that's perfectly fine. I wouldn't do the 3X in Japan though. bit risky with the weather. Top 10K harsh. Love that view. Mercedes, McLaren, Russell, Bam, and Ocon, Hadjar, Bortoletto. Free transfers. I enjoy the 10K while it lasts. I'll be mightily impressed if you can keep up that performance. It's good stuff. 3 transfers, yeah, I think that's probably Big Mac meal or double Whopper. Big Mac meal without a doubt. Big Mac meal without a doubt. I mean, I don't know who's saying the Whopper. I mean, McDonald's in Australia without a doubt better than McDonald's in the United States, in my opinion. But I've got big love for a large quarter pounder meal. Am I using any tokens? I am not using any chips/tokens this week. Aston to build money, I probably would steer clear of Aston Martin. I'd go for VCarb or Haas. $2x on Sonoda for driver of the day potential. Nah, go Piastri. I mean, play it safe. I think 2x for Sonoda, like his ceiling for me is 25 points this week, even with driver of the day, maybe 30 points. I think Piastri, you're playing it safe with Piastri, but I also think he's going to score higher even if Sonoda got driver of the day. But that's just my 2 cents. Matthias, Norris, Ocon, Behrman, Hulk, Stroll, McLaren, Haas for -10. Yeah, I think that's fine. Hulkenberg or Hadjar. I'd go Hulkenberg. Predictions on what, Guillaume? Morning, Fred. Yeah, we probably will. This live chat's just turning into a burger debate. We've got Peter asking In-N-Out in the US versus McDonald's in Australia. I don't know. McDonald's in Australia or In-N-Out Burger in the US?
McDonald's in Australia.
Yeah, okay. McDonald's in Australia. I feel like In-N-Out's probably a bit overrated, to be honest. I think it's good, but I don't think it's quite as... I don't know, you have the animal fries once and a thick shake, and it's just... like you've had it once, right? It's good. I don't know. I'm a big McDonald's believer in Australia, but I'm biased as well. In-N-Out all day, Kevin. Fair enough, man. Would you drop Hadjar for -10? Depends who it's for. I'm rolling the dice with Liam for my first team. Time to get nuts. Yeah, go nuts, Brant. Go nuts. Bummer, Patrick. Sorry about the trade there on Stroll for Sonoda. I mean, golden rule of F1 fantasy is, as much as possible, don't make your transfers until after free practice. -10 for swapping Piastri to Norris for safer +3. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Sam, I think that's fine. I think that's fine, mate. I won't be doing that, but you know, like this will be on screen here. This will be my team. I have 8.3. I could get to Norris for a -10, but as I said before, I'll probably want Piastri back in a week or two, so I'm perfectly fine to just hold him. I think Oscar could be set and forget 2x for the year. Just saying it now, and I said this in preseason as well. He could be an easy set and forget 2x. I have McLaren and Williams right now. Should I transfer Williams to Haas? For budget gain, yes. I think for points, Williams will probably score more though. I do have the budget, Bernardo. Yeah, I do. What do you think about Aston? Yeah, not sure about it. McDonald's fries are overrated. This stream's just turning into a burger debate, and I am not mad about it. Chick-fil-A. I think I've had Chick-fil-A once. It was good. I think I'm more of a beef burger than a chicken burger kind of guy, though. But honestly, that's a great. Let's do a poll. Not even about F1 fantasy. You guys come here for F1 fantasy advice, and I'm putting a poll out on which burgers are better. I mean, I'm going to look... Yeah. How do I hide this? Oh, beef burger with the early lead. Love to see it. Should I... Bubbles, should I switch Hulk or Albon? Hulk or Albon for Ocon? I'd switch Albon, man. Triple Haas or Ocon, Bam, and VCarb? I think I'm going Haas, Ollie, because of the fact that I think there's more secure upside with budget game. But if Ocon or Bam and DNF, should I say, that's minus 40. So you're kind of inviting pain if things go south for Haas. Five Guys slaps. Five Guys actually does slap. I used to live above a Five Guys, but I only went there once. KFC goes best with Friday night footy. And I tell you what, back in Australia, I was just back in Australia a week ago, and the number of ads for Friday night footy with KFC is pretty wild. Chick-fil-A is rubber. That's funny. What's the reason for not picking Sonoda? I think Sonoda is perfectly fine this week. I had him in my other team, actually. Who asked that question? Sorry, I lost my mark. Someone was asking Sonoda. I've got him in my second team. So I think he's perfectly fine to own. I just couldn't afford him in my team one by about 0.2 million. So personally think there's some upside, but the threshold for a maximum price rise, I think 16 points. What was it on the budget builder? I'm dancing around here on tabs. 21 points for a max price rise. I think that's probably a little high for Yuki for this week. So beef burger, absolutely dominating. 72%. Chicken burger, 24. I mean, I have love for a chicken burger, let me tell you. Tuna steak burger. Didn't even know that was a thing. And Sammy coming in clutch with the Sims. There is FP3 Sims up, so let's check those out. How do I hide this poll but not end it? There you go. You don't live in Australia. Where are you now? I'm in the US, Disco. I live in, live on the east coast of America. Five Guys is the most overrated. Damn, a lot of different opinions here. So love to see that. I didn't realize the F1 fantasy community, like that Venn diagram of like F1 fantasy and burgers. It's like clearly a very small overlap, but I'm not mad about it. Alrighty. So Sims are up. Japan FP3. Was that any other notes? Sonoda Lawson disadvantaged. New Sonoda Law assets are averaged over one race, everyone else over three. Got it. Oh, Jeremy, sorry, mate. I missed your message in the chat before. Sorry, I saw it come through and I think I lost it. Norris, Albon, Stroll, Hulkenberg, Hadjar, 3 swaps to Piastri, Russell, Bam. Yeah, man. Absolutely. Who are your constructors? I'm assuming is it Mercedes? Sonic Burgers. I've never had a Sonic Burger. Opinion. Sorry, I'm also going to, try and get to these other questions. So many. Whataburger since your brother lives in Austin. Yeah, I've never had Whataburger, Grant. Okay, so. And is McLaren critical? I think wildcard, question mark. Get McLaren in for wildcard. I wouldn't worry about a minus 20. You could do Mercedes, Piastri, Russell, and budget builders for minus 10. I think that's fine. You'd probably want to position yourself to move on to McLaren next week, though. I just think, looking at the constructor sims, McLaren are simulated 75, Mercedes 45. So clearly, I think the minus 10 pays itself off with just that transfer. So I got the sims out. I'm going to close the poll. Why not Albon instead of Behrman? Because Behrman has a lower threshold for a maximum price rise. Haas Williams or VCarb? I think Haas this week for me, Arjun. Do you stick with Williams or bite the bullet to switch to Mercedes? I think Reed. I'm assuming if you have Mercedes, it's probably Bortoleto and Hadjar. I'd probably not. I'd probably not worry about it. Oh, Sugar, Jeremy. Okay, so you've got Norris, Albon, Stroll. Oh, Hadjar, right, got it. 3 swaps to Piastri, Russell, Behrman, and you've got McLaren, Haas. Oh, you can already afford Russell and Piastri with McLaren and Haas. That's insane. All right, yeah, I wouldn't even hesitate. Piastri and Russell, that's insane budget. Yeah. Anyway, good stuff, mate. Any weather update? Yeah, great question. Let's go to Rodolfo's page. The F1 weather Twitter go. Let's type something in. Suzuka weather. I'm not even sure what the best weather. I usually use AccuWeather, but I personally don't think. Expect showery weather late. I think it was it daily? That's what I usually look at. Yeah. Let's look at Sunday forecast. Chance of rain, 100%. 100%. Almost 98%. There's definitely going to be rain. What time though? I think there's got to be a better weather website. A burger is beef, anything chicken is a sandwich. Yeah, I'm probably, you're right. I'm probably getting my words mixed up. Stroll or Ocon? Probably Ocon. Change out Sonoda for Antonelli. What do your sims say? It says, I think, doesn't it give the edge to Antonelli in the latest sims? No, it doesn't. It gives it to Sonoda. Oh, I think there's probably some waiting on driver of the day. So yeah, Sonoda. I mean, I'd probably say Sonoda as well for his price. Now that I think about it, like what can you do with an extra $2.5 million? Can you upgrade at Hulkenberg to an Ocon or a Behrman, for example? Limit this weekend? No, I wouldn't use Limitless. 2x on Norris Piastri. Yeah, Bubbles, I think Norris is the better option. I just like Piastri for my team. As I've said, I'd probably have to move Norris out in a couple of weeks and bring Piastri back in. So it just doesn't really make sense for me. McLaren, Mercedes, Antonelli, Ocon, Hulk, Behrman, Hadjar, balance set up for points and budget gain. It is. I don't think there's really, I don't know. I think you could probably do better than Antonelli on the 2X. Could you upgrade? Well, Rain, yeah, I think the problem is Antonelli, the concern I have for him is that he got lucky last week with that driver of the day. His simulations have him at 10 points, which is not great for a top 8 team, a driver in a top 4 team, sorry. And I think I'd want a bit more surety, even if it was Russell, I'd take him over any of the Ferrari and Red Bull guys. So yeah, I'd probably get on that conveyor belt of transfers and move Hadjar out and maybe Mercedes out. That was Rain's question. So I'm going to have to quick fire a few questions from you guys. I'm using my no negative penalty since I'm budget building hard. Yeah, good shout, Sanjit. I'd back that a lot. Ali should be updated this close to the race. Yeah, but this is like I don't even know how this forecast works on this page. There's got to be a better one. I think in essence though, there's going to be rain during the race. So tread carefully. Worth eating -20 this week and Sav wild card for post Miami. Tough one. How many times are you going to be taking a -20 this season, Ali, though? I'd probably just use the wild card for -20, to be honest. Keep Williams for 1. Yeah, Rebecca, I'd just roll 1 transfer, keep Williams. I don't think like they're a bad asset to own this week. God have mercy on us. What's your team? It is going to be this. Why not Kimi McLaren? Because I don't love Kimi at the 2X, Nicola. So why not Kimi McLaren and V Cup instead of Hulk, Mercedes, and Ferrari? Yeah, I don't want Kimi in my team. V Cup or Haas. Any worth to use the 3X? Nah, not with the weather. Go to Meteor Blue. Okay, let's try that one. Marion suggesting Meteor Blue. Well, okay, let's try that. Oh, this is more of what I'm talking about. Here we go. Suzuka. No? What about, oh, search for a map. Oh, is it going to make me manually look for Japan on this map? I'm sure there's a better way to use this. But you can see there's a cold front coming off the east coast of the United States over the Atlantic. How good's a bit of weather on Formula Fantasy Hub's deadline stream. Deadline in an hour, guys. Just keep that in mind. Still plenty of time to lock in your teams, but I'm now going through an extremely dynamic map and forecast. Here's Japan. Oh no. Surely there's a way to, does it not? Okay. Oh God. I bet you guys are thinking, like, why am I even watching this stream of this fellow try and find. I think that's probably a better way to do this, but I'm going to give it 10 more seconds, and if I can't, I've gone halfway around the world. I've over let's try that. I don't even know how. I don't think I'm smart enough to use this kind of database. I'm sorry. I might just go back to my team calculator. I've gone in way too deep, gone in way over my head trying to interpret a weather graph, and that's clearly been mind-boggling for me and for most of you guys watching. So apologies. 400, 500 of you watching. So thank you again. Please drop a like on the video if you haven't got to this point already. Why you open 8 million? Why have you opened an $8 million savings account? Yeah, if only there was some kind of term deposit for what you leave in cost cap and get a return on it over a 2 or 3 week term. God, you really do get the full experience over here. We're talking burgers, we're talking meteorologist map, we're talking savings account for the 8 million I'm leaving on my team this week. GeoGuessr, yeah, but I haven't guessed anything yet. Okay, thanks for the... Is it going to let me zoom? Yeah, it is. Okay, all right. Come on, work with me. Come on. Surely there's a better way to do this. This is a really laggy interface, so apologies. This is crazy of me to ask, but where is Suzuka in Japan? Is it the north or the south? Now we're doing geography lessons. All of this just to find. I mean, Google's so much easier to navigate, but my computer's going. Okay, so it looks like it's in the yeah, it's in the south. Yeah, near Osaka. Okay. So, yeah, I know Sim's alive. There you go. It's Osaka. Yeah. Sorry, I know you guys are much better at. There we go, Mie, or if that's how you pronounce it. See what I mean? Like, I click zoom in one too many times and it takes me into the Pacific. Okay, so we're getting closer. Yeah, so Osaka's here. So why is this not zooming in? Or why is it zooming in too much? Sorry. It's definitely not as user-friendly as I thought. Okay, so it's somewhere, it's in here. If we go Sunday, look at the rain coming in. That's at 11 o'clock. That's Eastern time, though, in the US. So we'd have to... Is there a way to, like, accelerate? Honestly, this has been a very futile exercise that I feel has done no one justice in the chat. So I may just hopefully find something I can share on Twitter for you guys. But I think we got... Anyway, this stream has everything, but probably not what you guys came for. All right, let's go back to fantasy stats, because you guys are probably here more so for that than you are for my average weather location. All right, so yeah, in the chat, I hope you didn't trigger a tsunami. Okay, I think, yeah, Mike, I said Racing Bull, Red Bull, Racing Bulls or Haas. I'd go Haas. Oh, let's just, yeah, Colin has said 90% chance of less than half an inch of rain, starting around 3 a.m. and going through till 3 p.m. So that's all you need to know. Colin is coming in clutch for the chat and saved probably all of us another 5 minutes of anxiety of having to watch me try and navigate Internet Explorer. Yeah, you can clearly tell I'm yeah, go show some love to you and Glenn. He's obviously crushing it as well. I'm useless at navigating the weather. Instead of having triple Haas in your team, won't it make sense to add Racing Bulls as they're guaranteed to rise in price as well? They absolutely are. The problem is that it's more insurance, if nothing else, that even if Haas had one DNF, they'd more than likely still go up the maximum based on their performances over the last 2 weeks. So my concern here is that it's not really a concern, but there's just less risk with going Haas for 0.2 million more. Risk in terms of gaining budget, but understandably, if Behrman or Ocon did DNF, that's minus 40 onto my team right away. So I kind of have to make peace with the fact that that these risks come with tripling up on a team in the midfield, but at the same time, I do think there's merit in going for both. I definitely do like V-Carb and Haas, for their own reasons. I haven't changed my team anyway. This is what it is. It's been that way since. Anyway, what do you think the lowest Bortoletto will go? Probably 4.5 is what most people think. That was the cap Sargent, or not the cap, but kind of the floor that Sargent bottomed out at 2 years ago in 2023. I'd be very surprised if they went any lower than 4.5, maybe 4. But yeah, Bortoletto, Hadjar are both going to drop 0.6 this week. So if they both go down that full amount, probably 4 will be the floor. What about no negative? Yeah, I think it's fine, but thank you, Grant. 13 likes on the video. So yeah, throw a like. It's hopefully not too much of a heavy lift. Thank you, Grant. Okay, yeah, so David, I think you kind of make a great point. I don't get the obsession with budget building if assets like Bortoletto and Hadjar are going to be the minimum value anyways. If there's a floor for assets to fall to, then at that point, if you can't go below, let's call it 4.5, the Sargent number from 2 years ago. If Bortoletto DNFs at 4.5, he's not going to keep dropping in value. So the merit of owning someone like him or Hadjar is that even if they do DNF, they're still not going to get hit with those $0.6 million price drops compared to someone like Lance Stroll, who is obviously nowhere close to that 4.5. If he DNFs, he's going to go down 0.6 in one weekend. So I think there's probably a lot of good reasons to pivot into Bortoleto or Hadjar from Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, until again they start to build up. Once that DNF from Australia falls off their average and they're starting to climb in price, obviously they can go down to 0.6, but it's almost like an insurance or a backstop, that 4.5, knowing that even if you do have a DNF from one of those drivers, they'll kind of just like bottom out and or they won't drop anymore because they've hit the floor of what the price expectation is for them. Antonelli with Hadjar or Hulkenberg with Tsunoda. Hulkenberg with Tsunoda for this week for me. For -10, I can take Tsunoda or Antonelli over Alonso. Yeah, I'd go Tsunoda over Alonso. I'd pick Tsunoda for this week if you had to get rid of Alonso. If you had an extra transfer, yeah, I could. Would you swap Stroll for Tsunoda? Yeah, I'd think about it. I can get to him. Do I want to do that? Maybe. Looks tempting. I think I'll stick with Lance for one more week. Thoughts on wildcard for Piastri, Russell, McLaren, Haas, Hulkenberg? I mean, I don't think I can get to that, can I? Wait. Ava, you're saying you can get to Piastri, Russell, Hulkenberg, right. Behrman, Hadjar. So, I mean, still, that's a very good, you can get Hadjar. I guess you've got 0.7 more. Yeah, that's a pretty nice lineup. Getting in Hadjar, even Bortz, yeah, a little more than that. How many points do you guys have, Charlie? Great question. I'm on about 310. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. What do you guys have over 2 races so far? I think most people have between 300 and 400. Let me know down in the comments if you guys in the live chat kind of what your rank and your points are. Yeah, I'm about 300 points and about 400k. I was at a pretty shocking Chinese Grand Prix, so went from inside the top 100 pre-disqualification to just outside the top 400. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this lineup. CMX, not sure this is for me. Because these guys, Piastri and George, are both A tier. So you're obviously missing out on the gain. I'm not quite sure I can stomach that for this week. So take Hadjar with the loss. I guess you kind of, that's the sacrifice, CMX. You obviously, if you want that point ceiling, you obviously have to go without the budget gain. I have 8.3 million left. I'm taking to put that into a term deposit. AB Mose, I know you're a huge Ewan stan. I've seen you in a couple of his streams, so thank you for dropping by, man. So that's my team at the moment. This will be my team for this week. Albon or Stroll for -10? Probably Stroll. Ooh, I'd probably want to say Stroll. Yeah, I'd probably say Stroll. There's much less of a risk for him to score 1 than it is for Albon to score 19. All right, 50 minutes, 45 minutes left. 475. Harsh, wow. 475, that is huge. 475, massive. Yeah, David, we got hit for 6 with those disqualifications last week, didn't we? House over V-Carb this week for the rain. Want to secure my top 20 spot. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not trying to let the rain dictate my thinking too much. You've got Lawson and Hadjar in one team, so 2 rookies. I've got Behrman and Haas, 1 rookie. I think you've probably got to put rain to the back of your mind when you're running a B-tier constructor because any team's going to get hit with it. I don't think necessarily that for example, VCARB is much more of a risk, or Alpine is much more of a risk than Haas or Williams, simply because of, I mean, Williams maybe not because they're two very experienced drivers, but I think when you're looking at a constructor or a team that has at least one rookie or inexperienced driver in it, you kind of just have to accept the fact that there's going to be a degree of risk with owning them in the wet weather. So probably, yeah, Haas VCARB. Is Albon a must sell? No, he's absolutely not a must sell. Good night, Jason. Thank you for dropping by, mate. It's 10 past 1 in the morning where I am. Probably bedtime in 45 minutes. This team, Alex, is because they're all expected to go up in price again this week. If you follow this table, I went through this earlier in the video, but you want drivers that have a very low points ceiling or threshold to secure the maximum price rise. Thoughts on using wildcard for Piastri, Russell, Hulkenberg, Behrman, Ocon, Mercedes, Haas? Yeah, Bingus, I think that looks good, man. 333 got smoked in Australia. No chips used yet. Yeah, me neither, Adam. But 333 is pretty good. Does wildcard cancel out transfers, mate? It does indeed. 394 with a budget of 103. I think I'm like 1018. 103 and 400 points, Charlie. Nice work, mate. Between Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari, which two? Mercedes and Red Bull for this week. I have the same team as you, but Williams instead of Haas. No, I'd stick with Williams, Kevin. 315 limitless screwed me in China. Yeah, that was rough, Carly. I'm sorry. A lot of people got hit by Ferrari pretty badly. Is Albon a must sell? No, I think he's fine. You can do Russell, Piastri, I guess. I can, but I don't really want to. I mean, Haas was the only B tier team that didn't DNF in Australia. Yeah, and that's why they have such a low threshold. That's why they've got so many like good results banked up already. Like Williams, I guess neither. I guess Sainz, of course. Yeah, Sainz did actually DNF, didn't he? It's just that's all you have to do as a B tier constructor and a B tier driver. You just have to finish the race, and your points threshold just gets lower and lower, assuming you're not in the negatives. Alrighty. Is there anything else I've missed that we haven't covered? We've covered team selection dilemmas. We've covered budget building. We've covered hamburgers. We've covered the weather. We've covered free practice. I think we've done most of the drivers and constructors. Haas a slow VCARB all day. Yeah, but Haas will qualify at the back and get positions gained. Don't write them off. What do you think of McLaren, Mercedes, Sonoda teams? I think there are going to be very few people running that. I think Sonoda as your 2X is pretty bold, Casper. But Daniel, what do you think? McLaren, Mercedes, Sonoda? Okay. Daniel likes the idea of that. I think I'm steering clear of Yuki this week. Oh, Zavi, thank you very much. No, I don't want to. Just a like on the video and a comment in the live chat is all I can ask. No, don't want donations. Don't want anything. Don't worry about that. Just happy to have you guys engage in the stream every race weekend. In and out or Shake Shack? In and out for me. I mean, Shake Shack's good too. Change Stroll with Alonso. No, I'd be keeping Stroll. Because Alonso has to score 57 points to go up in value this week. It's not happening. I wouldn't go near a Fernando Alonso. Maybe I am crazy. Maybe I am. George, hey Rob, Old Sonoda and Williams changing to Behrman. Would you suggest sticking with Williams? Yeah, and rolling one transfer. Yeah, just stick with Williams, George. Or Jorge, sorry if I mispronounced it. Do you still think Triple Haas with them mentioning issues with their floor and high-speed corners? Yeah, I think, though, Hayden, again, like, I'm not expecting Haas to completely run away with it this week in fantasy. I think it's more the fact that they are going to be towards the back qualifying-wise. I felt pretty confident with how Ocon and Behrman both drove in the wet in Australia. Like, if they just stay out of trouble and get to the checkered flag, that's as much as I'm asking. I wouldn't be upset if they didn't score any, like, if they didn't get above 20 points, like, I wouldn't be mad about it. It would just be obviously a bit of a shame if one of them or both of them DNF'd, which would be, like, as I've said, probably like a worst case outcome. Yeah, I've written them off, qualify the back. -10 for Hadjar to Ocon. I guess you're getting that's probably a $1.2 million swing for 10 points. Yeah, I'd go Hadjar to Ocon Lambo. As in Lambo Leap, maybe? Green Bay Packers fan, perhaps? Hulkenberg or Ocon? Ocon. Do I risk having Williams to get Norris? I mean, I don't think Williams is a risk. Oh, but I see what you're doing. Sarah, so with that Piastri Norris team, could you instead remove Lando Norris and get the constructor and then swap out Williams or Haas for a midfield driver? Because I feel like if you're looking at, say, Norris, and let's take Norris and Williams, for example, versus McLaren and McLaren and Ocon. Let's say McLaren and Ocon versus Williams and Norris. The McLaren Ocon has Norris, Piastri, and Ocon, and the Williams Norris has Norris, Sainz, and Albon. So kind of when you cut, I know we're doing a bit of an equation here. If you take Lando Norris out of both of those teams, I'm probably not doing it well. Why don't I just quickly try and show you what I mean? Let's do a little mock-up. Let's just do that here. So you could do MCL, which is Nor Pia and Ocon, or you go Nor Will, which is Sainz Albon. So this is kind of like a little math equation. So by that logic, you'd cancel Norris out of the Norris Williams and you take Norris out of the McLaren lineup, and you're essentially, if you go for McLaren Ocon, you're getting Piastri and Ocon versus Sainz and Albon. And I think 99% of the time, Piastri and Ocon outscore Sainz and Albon. If that makes sense. I don't know if it did. I was trying to give you an illustrative example of those decisions you'd obviously have to make when making those transfers. And I think, having Piastri and Norris is probably a bit of overkill in the driver department. Any news about the weather? There was a little bit earlier in the chat. I think it was probably, what was my memory? Like 30, I think it was like between 30 and 50% between 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. on Sunday. So there will be a little bit of rain, but hopefully not too much of a downpour. I'm concerned Sonoda won't put up 21, but I like deleveraging Haas. Yeah, I think that's why people are opting away from Triple Haas, simply because of the fact that there is a lot of investment in them. But like DNFs will hit anyone. They can hit anyone. So I guess my logic is that you're going we are. I don't know. I feel as though a DNF could hit, like, let's say if I went VCARB, yeah, I mean, I could do this. I honestly could do this too. Let's throw another poll up. Haas or VCarb in the chat. Oh, did I even ask a question? I don't think I asked a question. But you can see Haas or VCarb for second Constructor. All right, Jess, thank you for dropping by. Appreciate you coming through every week. Yeah, I do it because I love it. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't. But you guys, your engagement's second to none, so thank you. Go Pack Go. There we go. So I was right. Packers fan. Stroll or Hulkenberg? Stroll. No, yeah. Stroll. Haas better than VCAP because of the questionable strategy calls. Yeah, fair enough. All right. Thinking of the no negative chip if it rains. Yeah, I think no negative's fine. Williams or Haas? It's kind of tight. Haas and VCarb. I probably should have put Williams on there too, but I feel as though there's been much less noise about Williams so far. So that's kind of why I'm thinking between VCarb and Haas. That's kind of where... Okay. All right. Let me end the poll. People are asking about Williams as well. Sorry, guys. But that was pretty split. Let's go... the best thing about these streams is that there's no real agenda. It's just rapid fire questions, rapid fire answers, random polls. Best B tier constructor this week. Haas, VCarb, Williams. I mean, best B tier constructor, I think it's kind of a subjective question because it's either do you do it for points? Do you do it for budget? Do you do it for a bit of both? So my guess is Williams will come out the lowest. Just kind of what the general consensus in the community has been. A lot of people have been saying Haas and quite a few have been saying VCarb, but I feel as though Williams has been probably the least discussed. Thanks, Apoorva. Yep, thank you for coming by, man. Almost knocked the camera over. A lot of good points being made. I think, what's the budget increase? Haas have to score more than -31 and VCarb have to score more than -3. So I think VCarb slightly more risky, but I do think they've probably got slightly higher upside for points than Haas. Sleeping on Williams TBH. I think people are overlooking them, and fair enough. But I do think though, like people who have got Williams, they're perfectly fine to run again this week. I don't think they're suddenly a sell. I still think, what do they need? What do they need for a budget gain? Like 20 points, was it? 13 points. So like that's easily achievable. They've got close to. And look, even if they don't get 0.6, like 0.2 is nothing to, turn your nose up at, to be honest. So yeah, like maybe I do go down that path. But I'm covering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams. I'm covering half the grid, half the teams on the grid if I go for a lineup like this. VCarb ownership slightly higher as well. So I suppose there's like less of a risk in that sense if things go south. But yeah, let me know in the on the poll, guys, what you think for this week, who your favorite B tier constructor is. McLaren Williams or McLaren Haas? I think Haas, honestly, Zane. They seem to be the popular pick at the moment. Nico or Alonso, Nico Hulkenberg, Brian. I think Tsunoda might be a good pick for taking into account driver of the day. Yeah, I think so. I think I've got through most of the questions. You guys are still crushing it on the views, like 450 of you watching. Yeah, a few likes, not too many, but again, like not what I'm here for. I'm not for likes. I'm just here for, honestly, community engagement. That's why I do this. Good luck, Kevin. Get that bread this weekend in fantasy. 30 minutes until the deadline, guys. So I'll probably lock in my team soon, to be honest. Why don't we do team number 2? Team number 3. If you were here earlier, you would have seen team number 2 locked in Tsunoda and VCarb. Took out Albon and Williams, but I had 2 transfers. I wanted to go a little bit different. And then team number 3, absolute dog's breakfast. And I don't know if Mike's still watching. He asked, like, in what context would you use dog's breakfast if you could sneak it into an F1 strategist selection article? I have an editor that reviews the article each week, Michael. So I don't think dog's breakfast would get quite past him if I had to decide. All right, this is my team 3. I want you guys to help me decide for this week. Let me know. 157 likes. Yeah, exactly. Thank you again, guys, for all the love. Is the screen blurry? I hope it's not. Help me decide for this team. This is my team 3, so kind of in the mud a little bit. Went for the Kimi Antonelli budget building route. But yeah, Colby's pretty much hit the nail on the head with the vomiting reaction. Vomiting emoji, like pretty tragic lineup for my team 3. But again, this was meant to be budget building, and budget building kind of went south the first race of the season. So I'm probably thinking about Kimi out. I don't know what happens with this screen. Let me try and get the cost cap up again so you guys can, I'll try and fix the screen. Here we go. That should do it. Yeah, that should do it. At 20 million. Liam or Ocon for budget and points? I'd go Ocon, Snehan. Zane, yeah, Piastri, Hulk, Albon, Stroll, Hadjar looks great. What's your final pick? Living in NYC and want to go sleep? I think I had my team up before. This is it. This is what my team will be this week. Vlad. This is my team for this week. Haven't locked it in yet though, because I want to make sure there's no news that I need to know about. Although I probably would have found out about it if you guys are as robust in the chat about updates as you are about that's what I'm looking for. Notifications. Nothing. So Rain's locked in his team, pretty much identical to me, except gone Norris over Piastri. Further dampening the grass, yeah, so nothing on, what's it, Rodolfo? Yeah, it's Rodolfo, there we go. Oh no, that was from earlier. So no weather updates. Anyway. Back to the chat. Team 3, yeah, it's pretty tragic, hey. One question, please. Yeah, Manish, what's the question? Have I missed it? Norris, Piastri, Stroll, Hulk, Sonoda to change with who? Kick and Williams. I'd move out Norris or Piastri for McLaren. Probably Norris for McLaren Constructor, and move Kick in for take Kick out and put in a budget driver of some kind. And if it's Sonoda V-Cub, I'd get rid of that too. 8.3, because why 8.3 spare? I think I explained this before, but the situation with my team is that to take out Norris for Piastri, that would be take out Piastri for Norris, that would be a -10. And I'm more than likely going to want Piastri back in Bahrain or Saudi Arabia when I move to a Mercedes McLaren lineup. I was doing some mapping of my strategy for the next few weeks, probably about 30 minutes ago. But the situation for me just makes it very difficult to maneuver other drivers around. It's easy to go from Norris to Piastri, but it obviously requires you to make other moves and take other transfers when you've got 7 million, 8 million left over. So that's why I'm happy to just for 1 week, just eat the 8 million, then probably get in Sainz next week when his DNF falls off from Australia. And then, yeah, like Rial said, like, do we get maybe Russell in? Like, that's an option too. I have 30 minutes to convince you to lock in V-Carb over Haas. I mean, I don't think there's much convincing. I'm probably 60 to 70% Haas and 30 to 40% V-Carb. So, like, I don't think it takes much for me to move the needle. But I do think there is... I think it's more just like the surety of having Haas and that kind of that minus 30. Like the minus 30 threshold is just such a gap. It's almost, you can clip this and you can share it on Twitter on Monday when things go south. But like there is such almost a guarantee that Haas go up the 0.6. I think it's like 99%. If we look at the percentage odds, it's a 99% chance that Haas go up 0.6 this weekend. Funny I say that because I had Ferrari last week. They were a 99% chance to go up 0.3 and they got double disqualified. So for that reason, I think it's just, I'll take the odds in this case, which is why I'm going for Haas as of right now. Team budget of 104. Jeremy, Jesus, mate, that's a lot of team value. Is it worth switching Haas to VCARB from minus 10? No, I don't think so. How much does Albon need to get a 0.6 increase? I mean, F1 Fantasy Tools / Budget Builder can tell you that. But Albon needs, I think it was 17 points, wasn't it? $19 points. Calvin, that's your answer. CeeLo, Kimi, Lance, Ollie, Hadjar, Bortoletto, McLaren, Mercedes. I have 1 million extra and 2 transfers. Any thoughts? I'd probably get... Do you have 2 transfers? I don't know. I think probably if you can take a minus 10... CeeLo, I'd move out Mercedes, Hadjar and Bortoletto, maybe get Haas and some budget guys to increase a bit more. Tsunoda has the most probability to get driver of the day. Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that. If he doesn't DNF, yeah, I'd agree with that. All right, thanks for dropping by, Zavi. Good to have you in the chat as always. 3x Piastri, saying you're a bold man. Don't think I've got the minerals to do that myself. Tsunoda is good. Yep, I think he's perfectly fine. Haas or VCARB? Haas. If I'm choosing Haas. Yeah, all good, Calvin. No stress, man. Tsunoda is very good. Yeah. Should I use a wild card for only 10 points, minus 10 points? It depends on if you plan to position the wild card for a more strategic use, around Limitless or later in the season. So if you do, I think minus 10, like I'll be taking minus 10s this season. I guarantee you I'll probably take at least 2 or 3 this season. So there's nothing wrong with taking a minus 10. What would you choose for a minus 10? McLaren, Haas, Norris, Behrman, Hadjar, Hulkenberg, Ocon, or McLaren, Haas? Just tell me which 2 drivers. It's Piastri, Norris, or Hadjar, Stroll. Piastri, Stroll. Yeah, Piastri, Stroll, or Norris, Hadjar. Piastri, Stroll, Gustavo. Why not take Yuki over Stroll? I mean, I could, but it's a minus 10 for me. That's the only reason why. I probably honestly would take a chance. The only 2 things I'm leaning towards Stroll on this weekend is that he only has to score 1 point for the max rise. Yuki has to get 21. And also because I've already made 3 transfers. So to get Stroll out for Tsunoda would be a minus 10. Not quite sure I'm willing to do that this week. Are you using any chips? No chips for me. If I use 1 transfer, yes, your other transfer, Drew, will roll over. If I budget to put Antonelli instead of Stroll, should I? Yeah, I think so. Why not Williams instead of Haas? Because Williams, yeah, it's the thresholds. That's it. Like it's simply this table. Like this is gospel. This is F1 fantasy kind of cheat sheet kind of stuff here. It tells you kind of for those of you not familiar with it, it just tells you what scores the drivers need to get the respective price rises or price drops. That's the only reason I'm going Haas over Williams or VCARB this week. If it was VCARB that needed minus 31, I'd be going VCARB. If it was Williams that needed minus 31, I'd be going Williams. It's just these thresholds. It's just a very easy get. Williams and Stroll or Haas and Tsunoda. Haas and Tsunoda for me. Actually, let me think about this. Williams or Stroll? I'm gonna lock my team in now. Live on stream. Let's do it. Stroll or Hadjar? Stroll. Derby Cake. Yeah, I'm Williams and Stroll or Haas and Tsunoda. That's a tricky one. Probably Williams and Stroll for the threshold, simply. I think Williams can easily... I've got the team changes ready to go. I think Williams could easily get to 13 points. Yeah, let's go. I go Williams Stroll. I go Williams Stroll. But no Stroll. Okay. Albon to Ocon for -10. No, I wouldn't do that. Then it's worth staying with Williams over going to Haas to roll the transfer. So you're talking to me, Drew? I don't have Williams. So unless I've misunderstood. All right, Zane. Enjoy the race, mate. Enjoy the qualifying, mate. Why don't you do Piastri Norris? Because it's 10 points extra. Yes, Avril, I'm only going Haas for a budget builder. That's it. It's budget mode selection. When do we shift to points earning? Probably after Miami. Probably going to be the first juncture. All right, I'm going to lock these in. I'm going to have 8 million on the side. Crazy of me. Wouldn't ordinarily recommend it, but for 1 week, I'll just tolerate it. Could backfire. Haas. Bordeaux, Ocon, Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, Haas. Lock it in. All right. So, triple Haas. And let's post this team. All right, sorry. Give me all of 10 seconds. Okay. Tweet. Team is off. Team has been posted. I've just locked in. So I'm 20 minutes until the deadline. Team 1 and Team 2 are locked. Team 2 running Tsunoda and Racing Bulls. But yeah, look, honestly, Haas, I mean, sure, like the points will probably take a bit of a hit this week. I'm fine with that. Even if Behrman does DNF, it's probably going to be for example, Behrman could be Ocon. It'll hurt. I'm fully aware of that. I've made peace with that, but I think the threshold, like the only world in which Haas do not go up 0.6 million is if both drivers don't finish the race. And then Team 3, all right, yeah, Colby, thanks for dropping by, man. Jared, I'd pick Stroll over Tsunoda this week. Would you stick with Williams? Yeah. In Team 3, I'm just going to bring that up and do that quickly. I think... Can we get to Oscar? We cannot. What if I went... Can I get to Orlando? What can I get in the Constructors? Nothing. Nothing! Do I go a different driver? Like, maybe I go George. And what do I get in the Constructors department? V-Carb. I can't get Williams, though. Yeah. This is Team 3, like experimental, but building budget as much as possible. I hate how the alignment doesn't... Like, it's 4 milli. So I'm adjusting the screen for like the third time this stream. I'll come back to that one. Should I do Bortoletto Ocon for -10? Probably not. Leapsfrog, former world number 1 in the live chat Haas are good with tyre wear. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I also think that I just think if they're at the back, like if Ollie and Ocon are out in Q1, fingers crossed they're kind of out of danger. Like as Potpan Man has called it before, like the meat grinder is between like P6 and P15, P16. There's like a much higher risk of a driver starting in the middle 10 spots of DNFing than someone at the very front or the very back. So that's why I'm hoping Haas are just out in Q1 and don't have to worry about it. All right. Last few questions. I got probably 10 more minutes, then I'm going to go to bed. It's almost 2 o'clock where I am, 2 in the morning. How imperative is it to get Lando in if you already have Oscar? I don't think you need to get Lando in. I think you could cover his production through the Constructor instead. Do I just do this? I feel like that's perfectly fine. All 3 teams have Oscar though, so Williams instead of Hat. If I miss this earlier, do you think it's wildcarding to get the best budget boosting team? Yeah, Turn Dog. I think if you're in a team that has a lot of assets sinking, then I just throw the wildcard. Throw the wildcard and get it, build up some value. All right. Swap Williams for Haas or swap Albon for Behrman. Going to bed 15 minutes before quali. I mean, maybe I'll watch Q1, Okoden. Maybe I'll watch Q1. But like once the deadline passes, it's kind of out of your head. You don't have to worry about it. Can't do much about it. It's just, anyway. Yeah, all right. This is team 3. Let's just lock that one in. It's team 3, so no thought, just a dream. All right, that's team 1. Locked and loaded. Sorry, Avril. Yeah, I'll just bring this up again. I would go, like, for people not familiar with this screen, I would go to f1fantasytools.com/budget-builder. That gives you this screen as an explanation for it on their Patreon page. They're, the premier F1 fantasy resource. But it just shows the scores required for each driver to hit to receive the corresponding price increase. So, for example, the reason why Haas is so popular this week is they have to score more than -31 to go up the maximum. So that's why I've got them in. That's why a lot of people are kind of angling down that same path. Yeah, Obi, Charlie, they've all, articulated the chart in the live stream. So I direct you to them. Hopefully that helps. Thanks, Odin. Oh yeah, I forget you're in Canada, aren't you, Jeremy? I'll probably catch a bit of Q1, but I'm also jet lagged out of my mind because I flew in from Australia this morning. So I slept for 5 hours this afternoon, so I've probably given myself more jet lag. I'm not super tired, but I'm also not super awake either. I fell asleep on the couch probably 45 minutes before the stream. So as you can tell, I didn't end the poll, but look, Haas won. So Haas got that. 15 minutes, guys. Lock in those teams. Lock in those teams. Yeah, I'm Australian. I mean, yeah, 15 minutes until the deadline. I've locked my team in. You guys have probably locked your teams in. We'll go take a look at all the other content creators on Twitter and see what's Adam. See what teams they've posted. Then, for 10 minutes we can do some Q&A that isn't fantasy related, and then call it a night, call it a day. So yeah, Adam's running the exact same team except Norris instead of Piastri. What's Ewan running? Good luck, David. Ewan's running the exact same team as me except Williams instead of Haas. What's Rain running? I think Rain had a pretty similar team as well. Rain is running the identical team except Norris instead of Piastri. What about fantasy tips? Like these guys, you should all follow on Twitter if you are part of the... So yeah, everyone's running like pretty similar teams. You know, the only real change is Norris versus Piastri or Haas versus Racing Bulls or Williams. And yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'm an Aussie in New York, from Sydney originally. Thank you, Grant. Window liquor for the win. Yeah, hopefully one more week with Lance Stroll and we call it, pack it up and pack it in. So yeah, that's my team. Thank you, Grant. All right, let's get to these last few questions and then we'll wrap it up in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sim. Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate you coming through. 300 of you. So you're clearly not sick of hearing me yet, but I'll knock out the last few questions, and then call it a night. So should Albon be swapped for Tsunoda or keep a transfer? I'd roll a transfer, stick with Albon for this week. If you had a wild card, would you rather do Antonelli and Hadjar instead of Hulk and Stroll? No, I'd go Hulk and Stroll for this week, Waldy. Are you going to use any chips? Not this week, Volodymyr. I will be probably using Limitless and wildcard around Miami Day. Good luck, David. Yankees fan? I am indeed. I wouldn't say I'm a diehard Yankees fan, but I've been to probably a dozen games at Yankee Stadium over the last 3 years of living in New York. So yeah, it's a great little spectacle. Same team, but Lawson instead of Behrman and Williams instead of Haas. Yeah, nice, Nolan. Thank you, Drew. Worth it to eat the budget loss of Hadjar and Bortoletto so I can have Piastri, Mercedes, McLaren, double Haas. I think the thing about going for Hadjar and Bortoletto is that we've got so many more weekends ahead of us to run McLaren and Mercedes. And I think if you can avoid those assets due for a price drop, then it probably just means you're able to build your team up further and further down the line throughout the season. Stroll is the window licker. So we've obviously got a few people that follow Rocket Powered Mohawk in the chat. What do I miss most about Australia? Well, I was just there for 4 weeks. Yeah, I miss it a lot. Family and friends are all there, so I'm just here for work. Why not Norris instead of Piastri? That's the reasoning. There you go. That's the reasoning. Yeah. So that's that. NUFC have injuries. As in Newcastle United? I mean, I know Isaac and Trippier are carrying knocks, if that's what you're referring to. Yeah, okay. So I think that's it, probably, guys. I might wrap it up a few minutes before the deadline to let you guys enjoy the F1 TV broadcast. But yeah, thank you again for dropping by. It's been another fantastic stream to kick the year off. As I said, drop a like on the video. Almost 200 likes. So really appreciate the engagement for the last 2 hours. Yeah, I feel like 2 hours. I'm enjoying these 2 hour streams. It's usually one, but I've tended to do one in the past, but I'm enjoying two. So yeah, please throw a like on the channel. On the video. And yeah, catch you again for videos post Japan. We've got Bahrain right after Japan, so not even a week off. Yeah, it'll be thick and fast fantasy content for this upcoming triple header. So lots to look forward to, plenty to obviously think about, and yeah, thank you again for dropping, guys. So good luck this weekend. I'll see you all very soon.